Asian Americans, Muslim Americans, Arab Americans. Everybody came out in our support. It was a historic realignment. The Republican Party is the party of common sense.
All right, so we're diving into the 2024 election results, and it's a lot to unpack. We've got the AP News election results page in front of us, and honestly, just looking at this thing, it's a lot of surprises.
Absolutely.
And I've got a couple of quotes here too that I think really highlight some of the big takeaways that we should be looking at.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of dig beneath those headlines and see what this election, what it might mean for the future of U.S. politics, going forward.
Absolutely. It's one thing to just, see who won and who lost, but I think the real insights are hidden in those details. What drove people to vote the way they did? Just what could those choices tell us, about the future?
Yeah. One of the things that really jumped out at me was Trump talking about this, historic realignment. And he specifically mentioned these diverse groups, Asian Americans, Muslim Americans, Arab Americans, saying that they're all throwing their support behind him.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if that's true, that's a pretty seismic shift in the electorate, isn't it?
It would be. It would be. I think to really understand this, though, we need to kind of look past the rhetoric, right? Did these groups actually move toward the Republican Party? Like, what's the data actually telling us?
Right.
For example, I was looking at this earlier, Asian American voter turnout in some of these key swing states, it actually increased by 15% compared to 2020.
Wow.
Which is a huge jump, right? Now, we can't assume that all those votes went to Trump, right?
Right.
But it definitely suggests that something is happening in these communities.
Yeah.
We need to look at, past elections. We need to look at the exit polls. We need to really, drill down into these numbers.
So it's not just about the win. It's about who made that win possible, right?
Right.
And I think that brings us to probably the biggest shock of the night. Trump sweeping the blue wall.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody saw that coming.
Yeah.
Can you, for folks who maybe aren't that familiar with the term, can you explain what the blue wall is and why this result was such a political earthquake?
Yeah. So imagine this solid blue band across the Great Lakes region, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin.
Right.
These states have voted Democrat in presidential elections for decades, reliably. They were considered to be Harris's firewall, her guaranteed path to victory, right?
Yeah.
Trump just shattered that wall.
It's like the whole map got rearranged.
It really is. And, that's sending shockwaves through both parties, right? Now, the big question is this a temporary thing?
Right.
Or is this a deeper, more permanent shift in the political landscape? We really need to...
The million-dollar question.
It is. It is.
So we've got Trump's claim of this realignment and this crazy blue wall sweep.
Yeah.
I mean, are these two things connected? Are we seeing the same forces at play in both of these?
I think it's definitely possible, right? If this realignment that Trump's talking about is actually happening, then the blue wall crumbling could be one of the first visible signs of it.
Yeah.
Think back to the Reagan Democrats in the 80s, blue-collar workers who shifted over to the Republican Party.
Right.
Could we be seeing a similar kind of shift among certain demographics today, driven by maybe economic anxiety, cultural anxieties? I think we need to look into that.
That makes me think about an article I read a while back. It was talking about how certain Asian American communities are more and more concerned about issues like education and crime and how those concerns are, influencing how they vote.
Right.
It's not just about demographics. It's about how people's lived experiences shape their political views.
100%.
Which is something we always have to come back to, right?
Yeah, and that's what makes this election so fascinating. It reminds us that demographics alone, they don't tell the whole story, right?
Yeah.
We have to go deeper. We have to understand the motivations.
Yeah.
The hopes and fears that are really driving voters' choices, right?
Yeah, we always say that, but I think this election really underscores that point. So it feels like we're walking away from this with more questions than answers, to be honest. But I think one thing is clear. American politics is constantly evolving.
Always.
I mean, what we thought we knew about red states and blue states, that might be changing right in front of our eyes.
And that's what's so exciting about it, right? It keeps us on our toes. This election, it's not just an ending, it's a beginning.
Yeah.
This is a starting point for new conversations about, who we are as a nation and what we want our future to look like.
And on that note, I want to leave our listeners with this. If this election is signaling a major, significant political realignment, What could that mean for the future of the two-party system in this country? What does it mean for how we govern ourselves? That's something to think about. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.